Okay, we are just doing a quick microphone check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
doing some reading on Abram, back when he came up with when Sarai became Sarah and Abraham came, and it clicked me. People don't realize Abraham connects to all the way back to Adam and Eve. At one point, connects to Jesus on another point, connects to Ishmael on another point. And there was a dividing point in Abraham's life at that time. And at some other point, we'll get that's something to look forward to later. Anyway, but we're going to start talking about spirits. We did a lot in familiar spirits, how they can affect you. But people forget there are spirits. We know we are a human being, but we are nothing but a house for a spirit. We can't disconnect from the spirit world because our soul is a spirit on that. So we have a constant battle in the spirit realm. And Satan has an army of spirits, but everybody says, well, it can't be Satan because it's, he's a nice guy, It's the subtle spirits. That'll do us every time. Now, for ages, they've identified what they called 7 sins above all else. We've probably all heard of them. Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride. These are supposed to these things will get you into hell. That's no problem. I can avoid that. But 9 times out of 10, they're not. Because that's not how they come. On that. Simple, I think, we spend a lot of study on lust. How it grows, how it affects, how it builds in the body. Gluttony is basically saying you can craving anything. They say, well, it's eating too much. It's a lot more than just eating too much. It's eating the wrong things. It's eating, and where you see a lot of it, Daniel is eating the wrong food. Mm-hmm. Eating food that's not consecrated. Eating food that's been sacrificed or dedicated to idols. This kind of stuff. People don't think about it. When something is dedicated or offered of an offering to an idol or another god, be it food or anything else, once you get contact with it, you're connecting with that spirit. On that. Now, then, don't get me wrong on this. If you're a lot of people travel and they'll see a little figurine, something, they'll pick it up at a souvenir shop or something. It's just a piece of art. But if somebody with a spirit puts their spirit on it and hands that as a gift, they can transfer their spirit. That's the difference. So a lot of things, people have something, they go into a panic because, well, I have this, I bought this in a flea market in this remote town. I did a lot of it when I was in the Navy. I had more fun than anything else traveling and down through the markets and buying stuff on that. But they were at, this is one of 200 sitting on the table on that. But a lot of it's examples of art, craft, and that kind of stuff on that. So there's no spirit attached to it. But if you otherwise, so you have to be careful when you're traveling and when you're among who you're with. If you know somebody is walking up to your eyeballs in sin, and they say, oh, here, get this, I want you to have this. Even though it seems like no big deal. Here, have my food I've been all day cooking while I'm listening to the chants over here from the. it could slip in. It's the little stuff. Then after a while, you start to crave it. And you crave it. A drug addiction is a form of gluttony. You don't care what it does to your body, you got to have it. Absolutely. So that's one. Do you understand where that can be a problem? Mm-hmm. Now, just a simple fact, I'm going to eat till I can't get up anymore, and I'm going to get up and eat more. I used to be that way. I was over about 240 pounds at one time. So, of course, it cost me a heart attack, but it's my own, as I told Pastor Dave when he stayed in the hospital, I got myself here, God's going to get me out on that. So, and the one that really gets, this one I always throw people off, a sloth. I mean, you're just lazy. It's more, how would you say that? It's in spirit, I say, I just don't care. It's more than you can be the most active person in the world. But God still feels you're lazy. Because you know there's stuff you need to do, mm-hmm. but you just don't want to do it.
Slothfulness, procrastination, and because I think people, when they hear lazy, they think of like sitting on the couch and just eating potato chips and watching, NCIS. And it's not just that. It's the fact of, you like NCIS? I do too. Oh, I thought you chuckled that you liked NCIS. I love it. But I think people have that misconception on it. But when it comes to slothfulness and all, I think procrastination is a very big thing. And, that goes back into a fear almost. And, mm-hmm. you're letting fear in, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's one scripture, it's Romans 12:9, and it says, let love be without dissimulation. It says to abhor that which is evil and cleave to that which is good. That word abhor means like genuinely despise.
Yeah.
Like utmost disgust towards something. And that's the way that we have to look at sin. I was listening to Bishop Oyedepo, and he said you will never overcome a sin until you genuinely are disgusted by it. Mm-hmm. people who drink and all, it's whenever they still have a tolerance for it, meaning that they give up drinking, but yet they'll still allow their spouse to have it. There's a tolerance for it. I think of my grandfather. My grandfather was a chain smoker, 1-2 packs very often, a day, whatever. When he quit, mom and dad, they say that when he quit, everybody quit. It wasn't allowed. He didn't like it around him or anything. Why? Because he became disgusted by it, And I think that's a mindset that people have to get into, is genuinely hating what the devil is using to bring people down.
And that is a big one, because mm-hmm. you're told you're supposed to tolerate.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, you're supposed to tolerate it. Yeah, you should be. There's another word, we're not using that right. It's not. Suffering. No, like all inclusive. Like you should. There's another word they're using, very common. Like whenever the homosexuality move started to come in, you need to be more
tolerant.
Tolerant. But I think there's another word they use. I don't know what that is, but yes, tolerant, basically, of it. You should be more inclusive to it. Incline your ears and be, open to it, open-minded, basically, towards these kind of things. Literally allowing sin. People being okay with sin.
But you look at going back to Solomon. At 2 different times, Solomon, God said, I talked to Solomon mm-hmm. on that. Yet Solomon said, well, you got to be more tolerant. So he allowed all his many wives to set up temples. And look what it cost him. It ultimately ended up splitting Israel on that. It literally broke into two. The tribe of Benjamin and Judah, and the other 10 off by themselves. Because of that was, and the toleration mm-hmm. of sin.
Well, it brings about compromise.
Compromise.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Compromise the word of God, you can't do that.
No.
No. Now, when it comes to homosexuality, you can't say, well, I hate you. That's not an issue. I will not approve of your lifestyle.
That's right.
Now, the people don't realize that the military have always had homosexuals in. We had them in the Navy on that. They kept their lifestyle private. You knew who they were. You didn't tolerate it. You didn't accept it. But you didn't condemn them.
Hmm.
They were your shipmates. And as long as that was that way. Pardon?
Yeah.
They didn't flaunt it,
No, they didn't.
kept it quiet.
Hmm.
Yeah, they didn't slap your face with it.
Well,
Basically.
used to you would never see really anything, almost any kind of sin you would not see on. I didn't know this. They wouldn't allow drinking. You remember Leave It to Beaver, right? The drunk Otis or whatever his name was.
Oh, I know.
He was always drunk, but you never saw him pick up a
No.
beer throughout the entire series. Why? Because they didn't want to display that.
Yeah.
Sleeping in bed together, even if you were married. They didn't want.
They always had twin beds.
Yeah, always had
Yeah.
twin beds. And then it got to a point to where they could be in bed, but one actor always had to have their foot off the bed, even though there was no sex scene.
Yeah.
And now Hardee's came out with a commercial not too long ago of two guys kissing, before they eat a hamburger, stuff like that. And I was listening to Jonathan Shuttlesworth talking about it, and he says, it's the moment when it first happens, you see the homosexual, take place. Normally, maybe it's like two dads and their kids at a picnic, and they give you like a little taste of it, basically. Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna say one thing, I'm gonna shut up the rest of it. But I gotta tell you, the new Batman movie, I don't know if it's the Joker or Batman is pregnant. I'm sorry.
Really?
Anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
What?
That the main character from Batman is pregnant.
Batman or
Joker.
Joker.
Yeah.
It is the Joker. Wow. Wow.
I just.
Well, and that's that. But that's becoming the new the new normal. You notice something that in 2020, I always say that they always use the small little things. That was their motto in 2020. What is normal? And now this is the new normal, and all these things slid in at the same time. I think.
One of the feature movies that's on right now, I think, is Babylon.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the previews, what movie did I go to? Oh, it was that, the Island movie that Julia Roberts, I went to that. You watch an hour worth of previews before you get to see the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't believe this.
Mhm.
I can't believe this. And, and does anybody know what the Bible says about Babylon? Are we that ignorant of the Bible?
It's not that they're.
We are, because people are they're okay with anything, and it's because lack of knowledge.
Yeah. Lack of knowledge and tolerance. You're intolerant. Now, other people can be intolerant. That lady in Minnesota was a teacher, was basically laid off, professor was laid off, because she told the class that we're going to show them an artwork of the Prophet Muhammad done in the 1400s. One student, afterwards, knowing that what was going to happen, sat there, watched it, then complained, and they fired the professor. Because that young girl wouldn't tolerate it. And one of the goals of the 9/11 attack